Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin Eoin, and today, outdoor industry insider Eoin Comerford and I are going to hit some outdoor industry headlines before getting into our deep dive from last week's Outdoor Market Alliance media event, including our favorite brands and products that we saw while at that event. But before we get to that, tomorrow be sure to check out a new episode of Open Container with Doug Schnitzbahn. Follow and listen to Open Container on your favorite podcast app. And on Wednesday, Gear Abbey herself, Shantae Salabert, will be off the trail and back on the Rock Fight. Be sure to check that out. And lastly, be sure to click follow and leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast app you are using right now so you never miss an episode of the Rock Fight. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, we would certainly appreciate that written review.
Also, I would say, Colin, to our listeners, check out if they haven't already listened to the interview you did with Adam Ruggiero from Gear Junkie. I just listened to it and I thought it was fabulous. Just such a great, thoughtful, authentic guy, and just a really fun interview. So if they missed that one, take a look. Like one episode earlier than this one. It's really worth it.
If they missed that one, I'd say, how dare you?
How dare you, sir?
Stick around. We'll be right back. Liz and Royal Robbins were known as American climbing royalty, part of the first group of Yosemite-based climbers that would scale routes yet unclimbed, who would promote the ethic of clean climbing, and who, with a core group of startup brands, would serve as the foundation of our modern outdoor industry. From their very first pair of shorts that could boast a true climbing functionality, Royal Robbins has become synonymous with comfort, versatile wear for the modern adventurer. From Rockcraft Productions coming spring 2026 to a specialty store near you, Royal Robbins presents Being Royal Robbins. It's the story of how the Royal Robbins men's desert pucker became an icon and spawned the new Camino pucker. And it's the story of how an innovative brand launched mosquito protection technology to keep you protected without the use of chemicals, and why the Salif hoodie is possibly the most unique hoodie in our outside world, and how you can experience this uniquely American story of adventure through the thoughtful clothing choices of Royal Robbins. Available for streaming everywhere you find actual water-based tributaries. Being Royal Robbins, because nature and adventure are good for the soul. In the store aisles, a quiet revolution is happening. With Endeavor, frontline staff aren't just selling products, they're building trust, making connections, and turning browsers into loyal customers. Let's see how. He didn't know which brand he wanted, just that the trail ahead was rocky. But she knew, because she'd trained for this moment right on her phone. A quick conversation, a confident recommendation, and a perfect fit hiking boot later, he's ready for his trip. That's right, she's a shop floor hero! It may be lunchtime, but between sandwich bites, he learned about fog fighting tech and snow goggles. An hour later, that knowledge helped a customer pick the perfect pair and add a helmet too. Learning on the go, selling with certainty, adding value. Yup, he's a shop floor hero! Endeavor is a mobile-first platform that equips retail staff with training, incentives, and tools to boost sales and brand engagement. Brands gain insights, sell-through improves, while retail associates stay motivated. Ready to get started? Just head to endeavor.io, update your brand profile, and upload your dealer list to access the free features and, when you're ready, launch your first pay-as-you-go campaign. With flexible, scalable options, Endeavor turns everyday interactions into strategic wins. The result? Be a shop floor hero. Endeavor's here to stay. Shop floor hero. Sell-through is the way. Okay, I'm here with the consigliere to the Rock Fight, Eoin Comerford. Producer Dave is off serving his one-game suspension for performance-enhancing drugs. Do we know what happened yet? I haven't heard the full story.
I hear. I believe it was medium plus Indian food was the performance enhancing drug.
That you're referring to the meal we had while in Denver.
Yes.
Which you chastised me immediately for going mild, and then later seemed to regret your heat choice of the evening.
I did. I regretted it the next. At the time, it was an amazing choice, and it was actually very tasty. But yes, the next morning I was really questioning my decision.
If you're in the
Especially, I would say with the how do I say this? The lack of facilities at the
at the
OMA.
Outdoor Market Alliance.
Yes.
We're going to talk about OMA, the Outdoor Market Alliance, in a few minutes. There is a legendary story apparently about the first year that the media event happened where there was a food poisoning incident where everybody that ate one thing at lunch got massively ill. And I don't know if it happened at the facility, but I'm thinking of that lineup where it's a one-holer for the men and the women.
That would have been brutal. Yes.
That's really, not to skip to the next part of our second part of our conversation, but that's probably the biggest downside of that facility is the bathroom situation for when you have a lot of people in there. Yeah, otherwise, it's a great spot.
No, it is. I don't understand the thinking in the layout of that because they've got 25 showrooms there. I mean, what are we? And whatever.
Yeah.
I you know how I am about poop on podcasts, so we should probably move this thing along.
Shantae's gonna be like, I heard you.
Yeah,
you're standing on my corner, Eoin. But I think I have the answer. It's a largely sales facility.
Yes.
So those guys are like. So I see in the blueprint here you have 6 bathrooms. Like no. That's like 2 more showrooms. So cut that down to 1.
Right. Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Exactly. Yes. How much dollars per square foot are we getting from those bathrooms? $0.
All right, let's get into it. It's time for the Rock Fight Lightning Round.
Rock Fight Lightning Round.
The Rock Fight Lightning Round is presented by the ultimate comfort of more than 30 amazingly crafted and diverse styles from Lems Footwear. Head to lemsshoes.com to learn more. We're going to touch on just a couple of things this week before we get into the main story. The first one's not even a headline. It's our own headline because Ortovox has gotten back to us. Last Monday on the show, we had some fun at Ortovox's response when we roasted a recent press release from the brand about the launch of their new line of mountain bike apparel. It took about a day, but we heard back from the brand. A brand representative reached out and acknowledged that perhaps the press release could have been improved. But they told us that we were wrong in our assessment that a brand entering new categories is simply more stuff in the marketplace. I don't want to name this person because we're working on bringing them on, but until that we set that up, I don't want to call them out. But, Eoin, what do you think? Any chance that we got this one wrong?
There's always a chance we get stuff wrong.
Especially with us.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I think so. Yeah. This whole proclivity for established brands in other categories to get into mountain biking specifically is a little bit head scratching for me. And I think actually European brands are particularly guilty here because actually when we were at the show, the OMA show, we saw Neurona's mountain biking brand. It's like, okay, I didn't know you had mountain biking, and it was cool stuff. Actually, it was some stuff I would wear casually, but it's like, right. Okay, so you got this really small mountain biking collection. Fjallraven has a gravel cycling collection. Whoa, right? Now we're getting niche. So, and actually, I think most American brands have steered clear. Like, I don't think North Face has one or Patagonia or whatever.
Patagonia has mountain biking stuff.
They do? Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Does the world need another $200 pair of mountain biking pants? I don't know.
I think if this person does come on, I'd like them to walk us through the line because it's a good point. If you're taking stuff that is kind of just versatile and you're kind of merchandising in your catalog in a way and saying, hey, here is the mountain biking stuff that we make. If you're making like spandex shorts with like a chamois in it, where I think I said to you when we were together, like I guarantee you can go on some website right now and find a bunch of Pearl Izumis discounted for like $15. Like it's like bike shorts.
Right.
I wouldn't go play in that arena. Okay. I'm open to it. But I think it's got to be really thoughtful in the why. Because if you're doing a major push and we're talking big minimums, then think about like, what's a standard minimum for an apparel order? I mean, how many units to bring in like a style of something in a color? It's a lot of stuff. So I don't know. We'll see what this person has to say. But I thought it was cool they got back to us. The other thing we want to talk about in the lightning round is last week in an interview with Footwear News, Salomon CEO, I'm going to mess this up. Is it Guillaume Mezenc?
That's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Guillaume Mezenc, we're going to roll with it, said that they're looking to take the brand in a new level, saying, while our legacy is in trail running, this is a quote, we want to translate our success in the category into a more urban space. He went on to explain that Salomon is, quote, focused on providing lifestyle footwear which can be a bit scary for a brand like us, but we define lifestyle as making products for our consumer for all hours of the day, whether that be providing shoes for hiking, for them to wear to the office, or to go out to dinner, end quote. I mean, this actually kind of plays well with the bringing back the Ortovox story, as it's not too dissimilar in that both initiatives are category expansions that are likely going to be equally as hard. I have a feeling that Salomon's probably going to be going a little bigger in this footwear initiative than Ortovox is going to be at their mountain biking efforts. But taking a brand with a ton of authenticity like Salomon, and I guess we should acknowledge that we're breaking our own rule of not acknowledging Salomon on this podcast by talking about this story. But they're effectively announcing that you're going to try and win over casuals. Right, you're going after lifestyle. You're not just sort of being adopted into lifestyle. I think that might be the hardest thing to do for an outdoor brand. I mean, what was your reaction to this story?
First of all, I do think to a degree this has been driven from above, right? So if you look at some of the more recent analyst calls with the CEO of Amer Sports, which is the parent company of Salomon, he referred to Salomon as a sneaker brand, which I thought is an interesting turn of phrase, and said that they are only a tiny part of the $180 billion global sneaker market. So I do think that they're seeing this moment right within the sneaker ecosystem where you've got some potential weakness from a Nike. Adidas is doing well, but leaning a little bit too much, I would say, on some of their franchises, their retro product. And we're seeing the Ons, the New Balances, the Hokas come up and people being more willing to, I think, test and look at other brands potentially for their more casual athleisure part of the world. And so they see that as an opportunity. So I think that is what is driving this here. Also, I would say, in a bit of a kind of kudos to Salomon a little bit, the fact that they are recognizing that it's, quote, a bit scary, it says that at least they realize what's happening. And also, I think they're coming at it from a good place, which is that they're looking at doing collaborations with the tastemakers, the key retailers in that sort of sneaker space, versus trying to dumb down what is a very technical and authentic brand language to be sneaker-esque. Like that always, like if you try to, we're going to talk sneaker to people, no, that to me would come across really, really poorly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's all in the execution here, right? I mean, the one thing I do think of is they're clearly building off of the sort of juice they're getting when you see Rihanna showing up at the Super Bowl wearing Salomon. So okay, it's already sort of being adopted in that space. And then similar to the Ortovox thing, depends on your tactics. If it's a little capsule collection, if it's something that's meant to be attention grabbing, not as much as hey, we're going to, double our sales based on this initiative, and then it blows up in your face. I shared with you the story of when I got to Timberland, and I got to Timberland in the early 2000s, right about just past the peak of the yellow boot boom of the 1990s. Right. And at that time, Timberland had created a urban division that kind of recognized we are now a fashion icon. We need to make product for these people. And it took a few years, so I'm summarizing everything kind of very succinctly, but the end result was it was outright rejected by those folks. Not only based on the product, but then, trends change and boots weren't as popular. But before you know it, we got that one wrong. And boy, did we spend a lot of money making a lot of shoes for people who ended up not wanting them. So that's definitely a bit of a slippery slope. So it really is going to come down to how they execute this and what is the product and where does it go.
Right. I mean, it's the same with the Nuptse jacket or the Gotham jacket. It's a case of where that particular audience chooses to kind of co-opt that brand because of its coolness from a technical perspective in a different segment, and it feels cool to them because of that, right? If you then start marketing it directly to them, it's like, well, no, that's not what we want, right? We wanted an outdoor brand. We don't want a brand that now wants to be an urban brand, right? That loses its whole cool factor. It's a little bit like I knew that I listened to that band before it was everywhere, right? I mean, that kind of feel, and so. I think that can be a mistake. Now with Salomon, though, they're leaning into this. They have this whole sort of sports style concept, and even if you look at their retail stores, like in Paris, for example, they've got their flagship on the Champs-Élysées, which is all the really Salomon-y technical top of the mountain type stuff. But then in Le Marais, they have this sports style concept store, which is much more, they're not going like sneaker, but it's a much more approachable type of concept.
I do wonder, and not to step on what we're going to talk about, one of the brands and products we're going to talk about when we get to the OMA, the stuff we liked from OMA, but trail running, like 2 weeks ago, we're like, oh, can it go mainstream? Now I'm starting to think, is trail running starting to become a little overexposed?
Oh my
Because
gosh.
it's like, Ortovox is their next product line. You're like, well, I think we should make a trail running shoe. It kind of feels like that's...
Rossignol just announced that they're going to make a trail running shoe, right?
And they're going to sponsor some race series too. I saw that in the news this week.
Yeah. There's a lot of trail running shoes out there. Holy heck. Yeah.
I hope Stephen Holmberg is correct about it going mainstream, because it may need to go mainstream to support all of these shoes that are going to be made.
No doubt.
I guess last question before we move on. On a scale of 1 to 10, how bummed out is producer Dave that he missed this specific conversation?
My gosh, so bummed out.
It's right in his wheelhouse. Well, you messed with the bull, Dave. You got the horns. You're suspended. So we'll find out next week maybe what you did. Today's Lightning Round on the Rock Fight is brought to you by Lem's Shoes. Are you looking for shoes that offer both long-lasting durability and all-day comfort? Well, look no further than Lem's, with a versatile lineup featuring over 30 thoughtfully designed styles, from minimalist sandals and rugged trail boots to vegan-friendly sandals and laid-back slip-ons. There's truly something for everyone, whether you're hitting the trail, traveling the globe, or strolling through town. Lems are built to move with you naturally and keep up every step of the way. Head to lemshoes.com to get your own pair today. All right, today's main topic is presented by Oboz, the pride of Bozeman, Montana, who's also the Cupid to the outdoor world. So, as Owen mentioned at the open today, if you listen to Friday's episode, you know that last week we were both in Denver for the Outdoor Market Alliance Media Event, which I do think needs a better name, because it's OMA is its own kind of thing. The media event is kind of its own thing. I don't know what we should call it.
So what I think they should change it to is your Outdoor Market Alliance Media Affair, which for short would be...
complicated. Yeah.
What would that be for short? Your Outdoor Market Alliance Media Affair would be...
Market Alliance. What is it?
Yo Mama.
I can get behind Yo Mama.
Yo Mama. Where you going?
I can't next week. I'm headed to Yo Mama.
That's right.
I mean, the name of our blog is Your Mom, so it's kind of right in our wheelhouse.
Absolutely.
All right, so last week we were at Your Mama. That works.
Yeah.
All right, good job, Owen. This event, we've covered this event a ton on the Rock Fight. It takes place at a permanent showroom. That's the OMA of it all. That's made up of 25 different outdoor sales agencies, meaning the vast majority of notable outdoor brands are on display there year-round. Twice a year, the outdoor media scene swoops in to take advantage of the setup and allow for PR agencies to meet with those of us in the outdoor media. So, Owen, this is your first time attending, and I probably didn't sell it very well because I had a tough time sort of describing it, like I told Adam on Friday. What did you think of the event?
I think it's a great event. It's small and intimate, which is great. So you can actually meet people and spend some time and catch up with some folks you haven't seen in a while. It's very focused on what it is. So there's not a lot of other stuff going on. And they feed you. So I think it was all great. Although I do have some notes. Okay.
Yeah. I do wonder just on the setup before we get in the notes, right? Because the one sort of thing that's kind of odd that I brush up against, because by nature of what we do and why we go, which is more, broadly speaking, trend focused versus like we're not going to be reviewing gear, right? We don't do a ton of gear reviews, so we're not like we need to see everybody and see what they're having. So picking and choosing who to go see is always that's maybe our challenge. Everybody reaches out. In hindsight, is there anyone we didn't see that you think we should have tried to have seen, or was it kind of like a nice sampling of kind of what was there from your perspective?
I'm sure there were a few that we probably missed. We didn't really get to spend much time in the folks that were set up in the parking lot.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, but I guess what I would say is, and this is part of my notes, is there were a couple that we talked to where my reaction was, well, if you're showing up to a PR event, shouldn't you have something to talk about?
Well, and then there's now the question, is that the agency? Is that the brand, right? Is that an unprepared person, or is that the brand who didn't give that person the right tools?
Maybe, but if I'm showing up to that event, at least I should have a new product story, a new brand direction, a new something that's newsworthy, and not just, hey, have you ever heard of this brand? And obviously we've heard of the brand, so it's like, well, yeah, okay, yeah, we've heard of the brand. So what's new and exciting? And it's like, well, we got a new color in this thing. I'm exaggerating, obviously, a little bit, but yeah, some brands I was just, and I'm not going to name names here, but some brands are just like,
sure.
Okay, thanks, that was cool.
Well, what are some of your other notes that you were excited to talk about?
Well, I think the tragedy here was, where was the breakfast burrito? I mean, I have heard
I know I
about
pumped them up.
the OMA breakfast burrito, and no. Apparently victims of the immigration crackdown, which is
It sounds like legitimately.
yes, right, which is awful.
It is awful, and I don't want to make light of that situation. I will say that the food at OMA was probably 2.5% of my enthusiasm for the event is probably related because it's great anyway. It's a great event, so we can't say it's worth that much of it. But the food has always been historically really good, and it's always nice when you get served food, like we know at GOA and at Switchback. But you could argue that's most largely large-scale processed, produced food at those events. This was legit good, and when you know, especially when we're traveling, and you roll into a place and know that basically your meals are good and taken care of for the day, I really can't overrate that as a perk of an event. Because to your point, we were talking about before, like no matter when you go to anything, whether it's for a brand, whether it's for yourself, you're going to have to spend money. There's things that are going to come out of your pocket. Even if you're getting reimbursed and it's inconvenient to have to like get it reimbursed, all that kind of stuff. It was really nice when you have good food. And yeah, the catering was a little bit of a letdown this year. So I apologize for your first one. You didn't get to experience that.
But the burritos especially, I think that was the key.
I know, the breakfast burritos are so good. Evan, breakfast burritos, bring them back.
That's right. So my other notes would be, hey, if you were going to be talking about a new product or a piece of a product line, know the retail price. And I think it's also a reaction to the fact that I am a different kind of audience for this event. So typically, when you have a PR person talking to, let's say, a journalist, the journalist is never paying for the stuff they're getting. And I don't know that they even ask. Like a lot of the PR people just looked at me blankly like, why would you even ask that? And the reason I'm asking that is because consumers actually care about how much something costs, right? If you're showing me this new backpack and it's cool and it's $700, I have a bit of a different reaction if it is $300, right? It's like, okay, that's a cool thing, but no one's going to buy it at $700. At $300, that's kind of cool and is accessible, and I could see adding it to my store, right? So I get that I'm not necessarily the audience here, but I am actually the audience of the audience in many cases.
This reminds me of when I would work at brands and we'd bring in a new employee from like either a competing brand or just someone new in general. And it's like always like milk that person for what they think for like the first month before we kind of take over their mindset, right? Like what are we doing that maybe is not obvious to us that we should change? And I think your perspective on this is a good one because, okay, it was consistent. There was only a couple people who even had access to pricing. It wasn't even like they're like, oh, let me check the price sheet. I don't know it off the top of my head. Most people didn't even have it.
Right.
And I guess it makes sense if I'm a journalist who's going to do a gear review, I'm going to hear about the product. And then as I'm researching the product and writing the review, I'm sure I will get the price because any good listicle or gear review will have the price in there. And then you can reference, if it's too expensive, least expensive, or whatever. That's going to happen in the writing piece of it. But I do think this is something that brands should be arming their PR folks with because to your point, it is part of the story. It does matter. I think it makes they should just know. Anybody who's talking about products should know what it costs, regardless of the role or who it is they're speaking to. So I think it is a really fair call out of sort of the outdoor media scene.
I did think, and this is not a knock on the PR people, but I think the combination where you had the PR person with actually the rep there, this is a rep agency building. The reps are local. Couldn't you have the reps there? Because I thought that was a potential miss.
I've seen that. That's been a little. And this is my third one, and there's always brands who some reps will be there for, but it's never. It's usually under 50%, I would guess. I don't understand that. I think if I had an agency there, I'd be like, hey, the media event's happening. I just need you to like work the floor for 2 days and hang out and be available if people have questions because they will be able to speak to it. And the sales reps will have their own point of view on the product based on what the retail feedback is, which is relevant to anything you're going to cover on it as a journalist as well. So I would definitely encourage any agency owners who are at this for future, have somebody there. I think it helps. And it helps out your PR people. How does attending an event like this, though, how does it impact your POV in the broader industry scene? Right? Because I think of it as when we're talking about what do we need, it's like this definitely kind of does some things that other events can't really do.
Well, I would say it does things that other events don't currently do very well, is how
that's probably the better way to put it. Yeah,
right. I would describe it.
That's true.
Because I know in talking to some of the PR folks there and even, listening to Adam on the prior podcast, it's a chance for these folks to have really good, uninterrupted time with the brand people, not with talking about buyers or coming in and hold on, the person from REI is here, so sorry Adam, fuck off, I need to actually sell something.
Yeah, right.
So I think from that perspective, it definitely scratches an itch, but there's no reason why the shows couldn't do that. Like, you could have a media hour, let's say, as part of a show where it's just for the media and they get to have much more interrupted time. Or maybe it's on the second or the third day of the show when the buyer piece has kind of calmed down, and this is our media afternoon where you can go around and talk to all of the folks without the selling pressure, and maybe when the team is a little bit down from the busyness of the early part of the show. So I think that's an aspect to it. The other piece too is I'm not sure that shows, the trade show, they're so focused on I guess the buying part of it that I'm not sure that they understand that the media piece, it can be as big of a value as the selling piece, especially for like a national show. If we've talked ad nauseum here about our national shows, order writing shows or not. We won't go back to that, but the other values, the media piece is one of the other values of having a national show. So actually, think about those media people and how you best can support them in doing what they're going to do at the show. And B, try to get a shit ton of them to show up. I think one of the knocks for me on Switchback was, they did a great job. There was a media room, but we basically had it to ourselves because there wasn't a ton of media at that event. And part of that is just the media landscape that exists today. But part of it is also casting a wider net, bringing people in from all kinds of new media, whether that's podcasting, YouTubing, et cetera, and also being willing to pay to get them there, because it's a freelance world out there right now for a lot of these folks. And to expect them to pay their way to get to a show, I think is really not the case anymore.
Well, and then I'd put the onus of that back on the brands to learn, right? And this is the event where I met John Graydon from Marmot, which resulted in him coming on the pod. And he got to engage with these folks. I think, you hear, we spoke to some of the PR folks while we were there, and I spoke to Adam about this on Friday. You're still the brand demand for coverage to PR agencies is still largely get us into Gear Junkie, get us into Outside, because that's where numbers exist. Even if it's maybe not the quality that it once was, there are numbers to support those efforts. And if brands don't understand the shifting media landscape of the person with the Substack or a newsletter or the YouTubers or the podcasters, they're going to keep asking for the same thing. And I know it's not ideal because it's kind of a cramped space, which is actually, there's the pros and cons of that. And I like that it's small, and it's going to force it to stay small because you're limited by the capacity of that building. But I'm telling you, if there's some folks out there who are working for brands listening to this, figure out a way to come in even for half a day and just sit in that lobby area and see the people you talk to. We were there. We had our own schedule, and we still met with some YouTubers and some freelancers and as people who just are making a career covering this stuff, who don't quite have that same opportunity that they used to do with the big media companies.
I mean, I was talking to one brand about sort of comparing Switchback to OR, and one of the things they talked to was, hey, at OR, this is not this year, but the prior year, they had a YouTuber that went around and kind of recorded some of the different interesting things that he saw. That video got 500,000 views.
Really?
Yeah.
Last year's OR?
And from 2024. So,
wow.
So he's like, we need this. I mean, if you can't get us orders, get us this. But that, in order for that to happen, then the ORs and the Switchbacks of the world have to really court those people and make it worth their while to show up, both financially and also in terms of content.
Right. And then the brands need to put the demand on understanding who's covering what they want covered. Right. So I know that channel because they talk about the stuff that matters the most to us. So maybe the numbers are a little lower than what you used to go after before, but the coverage is going to be better because everybody who watches that person's channel watches every video with bated breath. So yeah, it's just another part of the evolution of the industry. Right. And I think this is, it's sort of everything we've said right there is it creates the need for everybody to be engaged in this. But I do think this is a great spot for that. And it just offers, to your point, it offers the caliber of conversations that you couldn't get before. You could say, hey, these people are all in the same room together, but it's happening differently now because of this event. The only thing really missing is the emerging brands, but... You're listening to Rockfight Radio. You got DJ CT with you, and if you think the hit makers at Fitz couldn't also write show tunes, then you'd be wrong. Check out the Free Your Toes Manifesto, and then check out fitsock.com.
Knit structures for a custom fit feel. Health benefits from compression science. Fine gauge merino wool that's softer and smoother. Small batch American production that's distinctly different from how the vast majority of most other socks are made. Oh, fits are grounded in the philosophy that whole foot comfort begins in the toes. In fact, we're the only sock with the open toes. Natural foot strike freedom of a free range toe box knit. Right into it. It's a fit so distinct we figured we'd name the company for it. Oh, come to think of it, we probably should have called it. Whoa. And tell your feet we say hi. Fits.
And now, back to the show. Well, let's get into our thoughts about our favorite things that we did see, kind of like we did with the GOA Discovery Marketplace. You know, we don't really do gear deep dives or product deep dives here too often on the pod, but we do want to talk about some of the things that we saw, and there were 6 things that kind of stood out that really left an impression. I already mentioned the first one on it, so I want to give you a chance. On Friday's episode, I mentioned them, Kool-Aid Coffee. So let's start with them, because I want to hear what your thoughts on Kool-Aid Coffee, which I think we had a good conversation with those guys.
It's one of those things where you're like, oh, why hasn't somebody thought of this? Right? It's like, because pour overs are, it makes a better cup of coffee. I mean, there's a reason why the coffee snobs love this stuff, but I'm just not that. I like coffee. I wouldn't consider myself a coffee snob.
I can confirm that.
Well, yeah, right.
I've traveled enough with you now.
Oh my gosh, but no, I mean, yeah, I'm a wine snob, not a coffee snob. I think you get one liquid to be a snob on. Is my rule.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I like that.
So anyway, but it just makes a great cup of coffee and takes the pain in the assness out of it.
If you missed Friday's episode, it's basically. Are you gonna do it? You want to describe it? Well, so it's basically a disc of coffee, right? So it's I don't know. It's wide enough that it could fit on top of a standard mug, and then it's kind of a filtered coffee that then when you crack it open and you can just do it as a pour over right into your cup like you would do a standard pour over at home. And it's very good, and it's not going to spill, and it doesn't require anything to sort of perch it up onto the lip of the coffee or anything like that of the mug. It just sits there. And so that alone is the better mousetrap. If you're going to go backpacking, if you're just going to go car camping, if you're just going to take, a jet boil on a hike with you and you want to make a cup of coffee on a cold day, you put these in the pocket on the hip belt of your pack if you wanted to. It's very versatile that way.
And fully
and then they also
fully eco-conscious too. I mean, the whole thing is biodegradable.
Yeah, right. It's compostable, the whole deal. But then they created this sort of like Keurig style machine, which takes the pod on these sort of arms that oscillates around under almost like a little faucet of water to mimic a pour over into your cup. So it can kind of brew it like a better version of a Keurig, essentially.
Right. It actually even has a sensor that senses if the water has poured through or not, just like a human would, and then adds more water. So it's moving it around. No, I thought it puts on a little show. It's kind of cool. So I thought that was really a fun one.
Next, we were going to talk about was Hydra Pack, and we wanted to chat about them. They've been advertising on the podcast. We want to acknowledge that, but the thing that is interesting about them, they've become sort of the go-to brand for active hydration. Obviously, there's the ongoing big bottle conversation that we talk mostly about in terms of like Stanley or Hydro Flask or whoever. But this Hydra Pack has become the go-to brand for active hydration, while then also becoming an ingredient brand with over 90 partners.
That was the piece that
more than 90.
Yeah, I had no idea on that part of it. I mean, I was aware of Hydra Pack in terms of their own branded product, but the whole ingredient brand thing is amazing. Osprey. I mean, you kind of name the brand, and they're actually using Hydra Pack inflation or hydration bladders, right? I mean, they've just cornered the market. Part of it is the fact that they have the IP, and so if these brands want to, have this sort of product, they kind of have to go with these guys. But they are the premium producer, so really interesting.
Yeah, they're like on the verge of becoming kind of a Kleenex brand, right? Where eventually it's like, right now I think it's still Camelback in terms of hydration, and people will refer to your bladder as potentially a Camelback. but the more they sort of penetrate the product of other brands, eventually it's going to become Hydra Pack. It was really smart. I know it wasn't their plan from the get-go, but to see that opportunity, and by the way, for all of our harping about innovation, like this is innovation. Really smart by a brand to say, look, and why wouldn't you? If you and I are like, hey, we have a great idea for a pack. If we're Pingora, right, and we're saying that, hey, we're a new pack brand, and we want to include a bladder, do we want to go develop all that and the costs associated with that and design, or just go to them and say, here's what our pack is like. We need a solution that does X, Y, and Z, and then have them give you a branded solution. Right. It's a better way to go.
But it's not just bladders. I mean, they have the filtration that fits into the water bottles, so you can do that. They have the what do they call the squishy sleeve things? The collapsible ones. What?
Yeah. Flasks,
but they have the ones that can roll up to nothing and then you fill them up. Yeah, so there's lots of innovation.
All right, next up is craft, and this is who I was referring to earlier in our conversation about trail running, because I am starting to get worried about running and trail running in general, because it seemed like every table we sat at, there was just another trail running or trail running adjacent shoe, and we'll get into the craft. There's a lot of things that I liked about craft that I want to talk about, but let's start with that.
I think there is a lot of footwear brands that want to get into apparel. Hello, Danner. And there's a lot of apparel brands that want to get into footwear.
Yes.
Call that Rosignol, Helly Hansen. North Face back in the day, obviously. The list goes on. Arc'teryx. The list goes on and on. Rosignol, we just talked about. The list goes on and on, right? And in both cases, there's a lot more. It didn't work that you can point to than like major brand successes doing both of those things, moving from one way to the other. And craft is an example of this, because they really started off really more in the, I guess, kind of base layer activewear approach. Yeah. I'm not sure how long they've been in footwear. But yeah, it's great looking stuff. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's to the point, like, do we need another trail running footwear brand at this point?
And they're going to find that out. I mean, I think they've positioned themselves to hopefully answer some of those questions themselves by the collection they've crafted. Because you mentioned Danner. It's a good example of, we went and saw their boots, and, not to take a shot at Danner. It's a great brand. They make really excellent footwear. Love their footwear storytelling and the kind of legacy that comes with it. But then they showed us some apparel that they're making, which was, ex officio Columbia adjacent sort of, Bubba style outdoor apparel, but I'm sure is fine. One of the shirts the gentleman speaking to us had on was awesome looking. It looked good.
Sure.
But, again, just put yourself in our perspective, where you and I immediately go to, if I'm a retail buyer, why am I bringing this in? Like, I don't really need a Danner shirt. I have kind of I'm kind of covered in this, So if you're going to do something, do it different in a way that really gets my attention. When we get to Fjallraven in a few minutes here, I think that's something that we liked about what they're doing. But the craft footwear collection, as soon as you walk in, it pops. And it's you cannot look away. It's color and style and the way it was lined up. Now, that was the whole collection that resulted in that.
But I would say it pops in a good way, because there's a lot of trail running footwear that, at least for me, pops in a bad way. It's like, holy,
agreed.
Like I need sunglasses to look at this stuff. No, there was a level of design, even in just some of the fade that was in the color and other things, and the way that they were combining color. Because some of the Euro stuff looks really, wow. This actually worked for me in terms of the styling and the color.
You're right. I mean, it was embracing color without the color being ugly, and it still was bright and colorful, right? Sometimes you're right. It's a real fine line for some of these brands that just, Hoka may be the best example of it. There's and Topo too, for that to that point. Like, there are some colors that look great, and then there's some you're like, oof, I wouldn't carry that one. That's just the one you did, so people would come over and pick it up, and then they'd buy the other one. But yeah, and the other thing about the craft shoes, I'm excited to try them. And on paper, it's not really a style for me. It's the toe box is not really the kind of toe box that I would seek out, but I'm holding these shoes and looking at them and kind of hearing the story. And this is where craft is kind of leaning into the gravel kind of running scene, right, which I take real issue with, which I've said before. But it was interesting hearing the sort of mindset of, like, I think they're saying it as a differentiation point, not as we are creating an entirely third column of footwear of running that we expect every store to have in their store. No, they're saying that, look, the vast majority of people are kind of running gravel trails, and this is a shoe that's going to kind of do a little bit more than a road running shoe, while not maybe being as aggro as maybe a big trail running shoe needs to be. So I appreciate that the positioning, but mostly I just like the look of the shoe. It made me want to try it just by looking at it, which is a pretty big win.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be interested to see what you think.
All right, next up we have Polartec, who's my old employer. And I honestly felt bad after meeting with them that I didn't recognize my friend Tyler Mayhew, who actually I was his boss at one time. He was there with their folks from I forget their PR agency was there. It was Abigail who was with Tyler. And as we're going through it, and I'm like, God, I should have recommended to these guys that they come in sooner, because Tyler's a sales rep for Polartec. He's been there. Sorry, Ty, if this is wrong. I think going on 30 years, if not 30 years already. No one knows knit fabrics probably better than Tyler. It's just like he's been selling them for a long time. And it was a stroke of genius for them to show up. I mean, I think rarely do the media folks who attend an event like this get to see how the sausage is made, right? If a brand says, hey, we made this fabric, some of them probably think the brand made the fabric, right? And it's like, no, you get to hear kind of the platforms that a fabric maker like Polartec are working on and how that might influence how, your relationship with a brand or a product.
No, it was fascinating actually to sit and talk to Tyler about just all the what goes into designing, and because I didn't really appreciate it, quite frankly, just the amount of development that goes into these. And there's like concept things like, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could do this and this and this, have this synthetic outer layer and this wool inner, and all of these different thought processes around that go into, heat retention and, moisture management and, breathability, permeability, all these different aspects, even obviously then into circularity and sustainability. So much goes into it. And it was actually somebody else in a prior conversation said, most people don't understand that 70 to 80% of the functionality of the garment that you're wearing is really because of the fabric that was chosen. Right.
Right.
And
right.
Less and maybe not the cut and the fit and all these other things, which is obviously really important too. But in terms of the way it actually performs in the field, once you have a product that fits, a lot of it is the fabric. And so, yeah, really, really fascinating stuff.
No, and not to gush too much about Polartec, but I recall showing up there when I started that job thinking I knew so much about outdoorsy stuff from working in retail and working for brands. And I've worked with, and as a user, and then you start to see how this stuff actually gets made and the briefs that are written of like, we want a fabric that can do X, Y, and Z, and the work that goes into doing that. And again, I've said it's like a lot of the opinions I espouse on this podcast are from those days working with those brands and how things actually happen. So, it was great to have them there, and I think I'd be interested to see what kind of coverage comes out from the journalists based on their conversations with Tyler. And Abigail. Sorry, Abigail.
They definitely fall in the category of newsworthy stuff worth talking about in terms of some of the fabrics that they were showing at the show.
Well, and then in the fabric world, not to get too nerdy on it, but Gore-Tex is just accepted as like a thing, right? A lot of people don't even know what Gore-Tex does. It's like, oh, it's Gore-Tex. It must be good because it has Gore-Tex in it. Right. And so for Polartec to recognize the opportunity to kind of show up there and be sort of a bit of an outlier compared to everybody else who was exhibiting, that was a smart move.
Yeah.
All right, next up, our friends at Coast. So Coast they're independent of any agency that has showed up on their own. And there's obviously been no shortage of love for Coast on this podcast. But they're a really interesting brand with good products at the right price points. And I really believe, and I go back to our conversation when we did the top 5 accessory brands, how Justin Hausman and I were just gushing about our Coast stuff. And the rest of you were like, who the hell are you talking about? I really think they're going to go from like 0 to being like a regular, like somebody who's just like everyone's going to be talking about it outdoor specialty pretty quickly.
Yeah, good-looking product, works really well, especially in the lighting category. They have knives and multi-tools as well, which obviously is an outdoor category. But I think it's on the lighting side that we're going to really see them gain some traction because it's really great stuff. Works well. Their headlamps have voice activated, multiple levels of brightness, obviously, focusable lens, which I think is cool. You've got red light, green light, and blue light for all of your light people that need different colors for everything under the sun. I thought it was really fun, and actually they're also talking. This was awesome. It's voice activated, so they're talking about adding little Easter eggs of things that the lamp will do if you just know the secret password. And they're not going to advertise it at all. And I'm not going to give any away here, but I just love that kind of shit.
It's like the Starbucks secret menu or In-N-Out secret menu or whatever. If you
100%.
know, it'll do a thing.
Yes, exactly.
I love shit like that. Like that's everybody do more of those kinds of things. That's amazing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and the price points are great. So it's not like you're getting all this, for 10x the cost of other headlamp brands. And they're coming out with a lantern that was actually a voice activated lantern.
Yeah.
And it was sharp. And hopefully we're going to get one here in my little sound booth that won't blind me like my headlamp does. So, all right, last one, Fjallraven. I think this is the first time I'm going to compliment a brand for doing things that look like other brands.
Okay.
Right? It's like on the surface, you could say they're kind of adding to the sea of sameness with some of their products, but I feel like they're doing it in a way that's in line with their own brand story. For example, they had a pair of women's tights that looked like any other pair of like yoga pants, kind of soft tights that you see a lot of women wearing these days. But there were some features and some fabric choices that were very Fjallraven. I forget, it's like the pyramid? I can't remember the name of the fabric, but like a little bit more of a abrasion-resistant fabric in the knees, the pocket placements that they had in there. It just was a very thought-out garment, and how they built it, and it was very on-brand, even if it was something that you, at a glance, would think maybe somebody else made.
They've been, I would say, one of the leaders in the whole hiking tights category, which is not something that many people think of over here in terms of yoga pants, yoga leggings. But this is a little bit more of a crossover piece from hiking tights into more of a legging type of product. But yeah, interesting stuff.
What did you think of the new backpack they showed us?
I think your comment summed it up perfectly at the time, which was, this thing is objectively cool. And I would say that is that is very true. Just the whole. First of all, it was very Fjallraven. If you want to talk about them, maybe doing things that are in other categories. This was Fjallraven's take on a 45
looked like one of
liter.
their things.
Yeah, you wouldn't. This is the cover of the brand. You know what it is thing. This was 100% theirs, but super lightweight, because you don't think of Fjallraven as lightweight at all typically. Super lightweight. And then, I mean, really, the coup de grace was the fact that the frame was birchwood, and you could see it, and it's just like, oh, that's pretty sweet.
It was like the romance of an old like external frame pack.
Yes,
but done in a very subtle way that kind of showed like it just. But to your point, still, you would think this thing's going to weigh like at least half a pound more than it did, right? It was incredibly lightweight.
So super cool. Now it's still not going to be lightweight enough for Lloyd Vogel, but for normal people, they would think this is very lightweight.
And how much did that pack cost?
That cost, well, after much figuring it out,
we still don't know.
We don't. We think it's somewhere in the $350 range. Yeah, exactly. It's probably going to be $1 million at the end of the day, but that was their best guess.
They were wonderful and knew all about the product. They had their pitch down, but that was sort of, I think that was the meeting that broke you about how do people not know the price?
Oh, it was the meetings before that. We, at this stage in our little deal, you knew it was coming
that's right. It was day one.
Every meeting where I'd be like, okay, so how much does this thing cost? And then just the look of panic / blank stares that would come back at me.
If there had been a third day where we were just sort of like biding our time before leaving the show, I think we just would have gone room to room going, can you tell me about your pricing? And like see what anybody who knew and who didn't. We'll do the PR agency power rankings based on if they know pricing or not. That's it, man. Any other final thoughts on OMA or anything we saw at OMA? Did we miss anything?
Well, I'm glad I went. It was, so I can sort of put a face to a name, so to speak, in terms of when you talk about these things, understand where it fits within the pantheon of various trade events. So it was good to go.
Yeah, I would say, I guess anybody listening to this who works with a brand or with brands who aren't normally in these showrooms, like I mentioned, Coast, that they don't have a rep agency that reps Coast in the Rockies, and yet they still had the opportunity to come. So if you're an emerging brand, if you're someone who listens to this podcast because we talk a lot about Lloyd Vogel and Garage Grown Gear or the other brands in the space that we like to kind of pump up, I would reach out because if you are looking for coverage, it happens twice a year, and this is probably the best place to go to get, to maximize your dollar in terms of getting people to potentially talk about your brands or products.
Because it's I won't talk pricing here because I'm sure it probably is different, but it's not crazy expensive, and yeah, you think about Cooley Coffee, right? In terms of the love that they're getting on 2 different episodes of the Rock Fight. I mean,
Yeah, that's a good point.
People pay thousands of dollars to advertise on this show, right? And they're getting that just by being at that event and getting a very authentic feedback from the likes of us for whatever that's worth. But yeah, no, I think it can be worthwhile to get in front of the right people.
All right, today's episode of The Rock Fight was presented by Oboes, who wants to share their love of hiking, and we want to help them by uncovering all the different reasons we love to take the long walk, including Michael Collins, who was there at OMA. I don't think he knew his prices. I'm going to call Michael out right now. Michael, learn your prices.
Yeah, but he had some great microbrews, which was really...
Oh, he gets a pass. If anybody gets to Mike, he brings in this incredible beer from Maine where he lives every time. And literally to the point where he was texting me, he's like, let's put your meeting at the end of the day so we can have some beers. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. So
the one that I sampled was called The Substance. It was really very tasty.
It tasted better than the movie looked. Let's put it that way if you've seen that movie.
I have. That was...
gnarly.
Hard to look away. That is, yeah. Really interesting.
I'm like, they are really going for it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, number 1 on today's list, hiking. It gives your existential dread something scenic to sit in. Just it lets you to kind of like put this aside for a moment and to sort of embrace the scenery around you.
Okay.
Number 2, because being chased by a bear, that builds grit. Number 3, nature is the only place where it's okay to wear the same clothes 3 days in a row. Number 4, the Oboes Katabatic LT. That's the other reason we want to talk about going hiking, right? Because the Katabatic has quickly become an Oboes favorite, and the LT takes the Katabatic collection to a whole new level with a lighter package and additional environmentally friendly materials. From fast packing to day hiking in the Katabatic LT, it's your new shoe of choice. And this hiking appreciation moment is brought to you.
If I could break in right here.
Of course.
One call out to the little OMA beer tasting event there was learning a little bit more about the Katabatic Wind, which I didn't realize how high tech this thing was. I mean, it has...
Yeah, it's a cool shoe.
But it has all the features of, your trail running super shoe. We're talking, it's got the carbon fiber plate, it's got the nitrogen infused midsole, the stuff that, they're charging at $300 for. And okay, it isn't inexpensive. I think it's like $195, $200, but this is a high-tech piece of kit for pretty approachable. They don't call it a trail runner, they call it a speed hiker. Is that
fast packing? It's fast packing.
Fast packing shoe. Okay. But no, yeah. Great shoe, by the way. So I just, thought I...
Are you saying we need more beer in these meetings and you'll get more information out of the brands?
Or more free shoes. One of those 2 things, yes.
Or more, maybe both.
Yeah.
This hiking appreciation moment is brought to you by Oboes of Bozeman, Montana. Oboes is the maker of premium quality footwear for the trail and the Cupid to the outdoor world. That's Michael Collins. He's the Cupid to the outdoor world. Oboes. Love hiking.
It's time for a party shot.
All right, for today's parting shot, someone at OMA called me out for not offering, it was Michael actually, for not offering my thoughts on Superman, which was great. Everybody should go see Superman. I really enjoyed it. If you like comic book movies, you're definitely going to like it. Even if you don't, it kind of goes so hard into the comic book shticky stuff that you probably, it's kind of, it's charming, and I think you'd probably like it. So I endorse this new Superman movie. We'll see about my prediction about DC taking over Marvel after the Fantastic Four comes out later this month. And I'll make my decision based off of how that goes. But my real parting shot is for Denver International Airport, aka the worst airport of all time. The location sucks, the layout is confusing, the amenities are lacking. There's always construction, at least in one of the terminals. You can't walk to most of the gates. You have to take their stupid train. And I've gotten food poisoning there twice. So Colorado people, if you want to do the thing where you claim your state as this like one-of-one outdoor location, which it isn't, but whatever, if you want to do that, I demand that you at least apologize for your Dickinson level airport, along with every one of your humble brags. I really hate DIA. I was just there yesterday. That's why I'm talking about it. And that's my parting shot.
I will tell you, Colin, that you made the right call by not joining me for the Delta Sky Lounge.
I forgot to ask you.
So,
was it bad?
Oh, so... To those that know, the DIA, existing Delta Sky Lounge, it just has a place in infamy as the shittiest one on the planet, right?
It's about the size of my recording booth that I'm in right now. It's just
ridiculous. And so then I go, and of course, there's a line, which is always great, right, to get into the thing. And then I'm like, well, this is not where I'm usually going. Oh, no. They are, in fairness, they are actually working on a new one, which is cool. But in the interim, we're in like a conference room. basically, that they've converted to a temporary sky lounge. So yeah, you did not miss out at all on that whole deal.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. When I was traveling for Polar Tech specifically, and I was on planes a bunch, I was a Delta guy as well. And so, but Seattle was my hub, and they had just opened the brand new Seattle one, which was awesome. And by the way, we understand this is a very sort of elitist, like privileged thing to be talking about. When you are on airplanes every week, like that's your life, the lounge is actually, I don't go to them as often now that I'm not doing that. But but that's what you're doing, and you're spending so much time in an airport, they really do make the experience better to travel.
Yeah.
But I was usually flying through Minneapolis or your home airport, of Detroit. Yeah. All three of those airports have amazing Delta Sky lounges, which are like, I'm just going to go right there.
Yes,
right. And Salt Lake City has good ones. Mm-hmm. And then, every once in a while you end up at that shithole DIA. Like, sorry, I hate that airport so much.
It's not great. It really isn't.
No. All right. Not that on a negative note, but that was my parting shot today. All right, well, that's the show for today. We want your emails. If you were at OMA, if you're curious about OMA, if you have anything else you want to talk about, send it over to myrockfight@gmail.com. The Rock Fight's a production of Rock Fight LLC. For Eoin Comerford, I'm Colin True. Producer Dave was not here to produce today, so we can't give him the credit for that. Thanks for listening. And here to take us out, Krista Makes. He's back with the Rock Fight fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock fight.